So let's spend some time actually focusing in on the four different tasks that we'll be dealing with here for this module. The very first one, really, before we even get to the four tasks, is the installation of the FSRM role service. Now, this is, as I mentioned, a fairly uninteresting idea. The idea here is that you just simply install it as part of the Add Roles and Features wizard. Really, the only thing I want you to know here is that here under Server Roles and then under File and Storage Services, down here is where we can install FSRM, the File Server Resource Manager. This solution is intended to work for the files and folders that exist on this server. So you would install this onto every server that you consider to be a file server. The installation is relatively trivial, which is why I'm not showing it to you, but really you just install this and then it provides those services for the files and folders that exist on disks directly attached to this machine. Once installed here under Tools, we can take a look at FSRM and then the different things that it can accomplish. And we'll get into most of these here in this module, but first I want to show you that under the Configure Options view here are a series of tabs that we'll take a look at individually as we go through the various tasks that this objective requires. But the first two of which are important before you really ever get off the ground. The first being, which SMTP server do you want to connect up FSRM to if you plan to have FSRM send you notifications through email that some activity or threshold has been breached. Let's say that our SMTP server name is, I don't know, smtp.company.pri. The assumption here is that that machine obviously is listening on SMTP, which we're just going to simulate here. We don't actually have a server named SMTP. Now, for these default email settings, we can configure here what we should set as the default to use when sending notifications and also storage reports to administrators by email. If you have multiple ones, as you can see down here, you would use a semicolon to separate those multiple addresses, but we would choose admin@company.pri as the person that we want to send by default these reports and alerts to. When configuring these reports, we also have to configure a from address, which down here you can see would be our server fsrm@whatever.company.pri. And I could also, as you see here, just remove the file one if I wanted to ensure that my domain name and my email address also correspond. If I choose the bottom button down here, that would send a test email, which in our case would fail because we don't have that server up and running in this environment. The only other tab I want to show you right here are the notification limits, which help protect you against a certain threshold situation ending up sending you far too many notifications that condition exists. It's here where you can determine what the limits are for email notification, event log notification, command notification, and also report notification. So not too terribly interesting things here, but these are, at the very least, some of the first configurations you should set before we take the next step and begin the process of managing our file servers with FSRM.